unleashing the audacious woman within. And oh my goodness, have I got a treat for you today. Today's guest is Allana Pratt. If you haven't come across Allana yet, she is best known, in short, as an intimacy expert. She is a global media personality. She's written over 6 books. She has a beautiful, edgy podcast called Intimate Conversations. She inspires millions every week with her YouTube channel and is such an incredibly wise and generous soul. I cannot wait to introduce you to her and to dive in to this conversation. Allana, thank you so much for being with us today. I am so excited to dive into this conversation.
Thank you for having me. I love your earrings. And I love that we get to have these deep conversations in service to others. It's really the reason I keep getting up every morning. Like any of us that have been through hell, doubt, hesitancy, breakups, like you name it. Yeah. If we show up for ourselves, that's awesome. Like I think that's stage 1 of like in the space of anything, I still opened my heart and got up today. Yeah. And then once we do that long enough, the next thing becomes, and I need this to be an inspiration to others. I need what I've gone through to shorten their learning curve, close the gap for them, be wind in someone else's wings. Yeah. And if we can be that, all of us for each other, okay, I think we're going to make it. No, I know we're going to make it and we're going to thrive. So yeah, thank you for having me.
I was reading in your bio that you're the go-to person for people that have experienced heartbreak. And I was reading that, I was thinking, is there anybody that hasn't, over the age of 14?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah. Anyway, we can dive in there. We will dive in there as we move along. But for those in our audience that haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, would you take a minute to tell us a little bit about your story and how you came to be doing the work that you do now?
Yeah, thank you. It wasn't the plan at all. I didn't say, yes, I want to be an intimacy expert when I grow up. I hopped on my Uncle Phil's 18-wheeler semi when I was 19 because I had done the right thing, gone to college. I was going to take over Dad's pharmacy, be the good girl, don't rock the boat. Yep. But it wasn't in my heart. And I was failing. I got like an F in quantitative methods in college or something. I like not good. So I'm like, okay, I'm out of here. And I left and I sold the car and I did all this stuff. And I was talented enough and I was brave enough, but I didn't have a visa to work in America. So with $40 left to my name, it was like, go home, go back to school, doing what I didn't like to do and take over Dad's pharmacy, or like, I need a miracle. Yep. And I got a job dancing in a show in Japan. So I was first afraid that I would be like sold into slavery and like all that kind of stuff, right? So I checked it all out, but it looked legit. And so over I went, and that began a 4-year journey of dancing in shows, being a model, being a spokesperson, being an English teacher, like you name it. I was making more than my parents combined after about 2 or 3 years. I was really thriving, and I did it myself. Like it wasn't because Dad made a call for me. Yeah. Like I earned it. And that was something that I'd never really experienced before. Yeah. And it was also the beginning of my learning about what intuition was. I remember getting off it was before the internet. So you had to write letters post restant to my friends that were traveling through, okay, what did they say? Thailand, India, Bali, like let's just send it. And I got a letter back saying, hey, we're going to be in Thailand at this date. Let us know. So I literally just sent a letter saying, I'm going to arrive on this date in Bangkok. Yeah. Please come meet me at the airport. And like, what are the chances that they actually would even get the letter or be there? Yeah. But there I was, all these lovely, dark haired, 2 tall blondes. I'm like, there's my people. Hi. Oh my God. And they really showed me the ropes of being a backpacker and how we would listen to our intuition. Now, they never said the words intuition, but I just noticed that if I had, oh, this isn't going to go very well, I wonder who will take advantage of me, I'm so scared. Like if my vibration went into contraction, I got to be right about it. I created my own reality. Yeah. And the opposite was true as well. They were these really cool Swedes, like tall, blonde, beautiful people. And they just had a different attitude. They're like, oh no, this is going to go well. This is totally going to be perfect. We're going to get to this island. The perfect little bungalow is going to be there on the beach. Just watch us. And I'm like, dang. And I realized they were creating their reality. Like fast forward all of these years, I really learned that there's this whole other way. I was so trained to be a smart girl. I mean, I went to Columbia University, I graduated cum laude, like I'm a smart girl.
Yeah.
This is a different kind of smart. It's an intuition. And here's what I really learned, that when our hearts are closed from a wound, like who hasn't been wounded, abused, betrayed, let down, when we close and don't do the work, not to get rid of the fear, because you can't get rid of the fear. You have to integrate the pain into a power. Okay. So you can't resist because that makes it worse. You've got to lean in and do the work to see the gift in it, and all the quantum psychology that I've been trained in, image, thought, emotion, body sensation, all these elements in the brain, central nervous system, quantum field, they all have to be integrated until you no longer have a trigger. And you can literally say thank you and mean it. And you're the embodiment of, I don't know, strength, forgiveness, bravery, surrender, whatever the lesson was, you be it. I was starting to get the hang of like, oh, this happens when my heart is open. And when my heart is closed and I'm being a big old victim and I'm blaming everybody else or trying to be a people pleaser, things don't go very well. So who's the one who's creating her life? That would be me. But also humbled, I'm co-creating it with a larger power. Because in my little 5-year plan, I had my little 5-year plan. It wasn't going very well. So me being 100% in charge was too masculine. There was still so many years, decades, in fact, of cultivating what is it really to be in my feminine power. So I'm driven and I know what I choose to create, but damn, I'm humbled that I'm not in charge. Never have been, never will be. The universe is going to always be co-creating with me. This whole journey, long story short, 2 divorces in there, death of my mother in there, 12-year custody battle in there. A lot of stuff happened in that period of time. And if it serves anybody, we can go deeper into any of that. But basically through all of that challenge, at the end of the day, I found home inside of me. And I call that an intimate relationship with ourself. And even though people come to me for relationship issues in general, maybe wanting to really live their truth, live unapologetically, have a really conscious, soul-shaking relationship, these kind of things, at the end of the day, it's all the same thing. Are you home with yourself and the divine?
Oh my goodness. Allana, you have a gift. You have a gift for articulating that so beautifully, that relationship. You're talking my language, but you have a gift of articulating it so beautifully.
Thank you.
I would actually really love for you to continue that story, because I was reading it last night about how you met your first husband and the woman you were there and who you needed to grow into in order to come out the other side of that. And it is such a powerful story. I would love you to keep going, if that's okay.
Sure. We could get out the wine. Let's have a 3-hour chat. No, I'm just teasing. Okay. So can you imagine being this girl who never received daddy's presents because he was drunk or stoned? He's like dry now, but when I grew up, he wasn't, and all I wanted was daddy's love. So I was a really good people pleaser, never checked in with self, always, what do I need to do to, on the one hand, be safe because you're drunk and stoned, but on the other hand, get your love, your attention, your approval, right? So there I was pretending I was like confident when I wasn't. I was this model. I looked good, but I was inside very insecure. And here is a tall, dark and handsome, multimillionaire, Wall Street expat who thinks I'm the bee's knees. Did I even ask myself what I thought about him? No. Like, you just shut your trap. You are a lucky girl. It's not going to get any better than this. Just go along with this. And I'm a very naturally positive person. I look for the, the good side of things. The glass is half full. So I could find lots of wonderful qualities about him, which still I'm sure exist today. But I remember one of our first dates, pack your bikini and a passport. I'm like, dang, off to the Shangri-La in the Philippines. There we were. And he was negotiating his bonus. Now, at this point, I arrived with $40 the day I got to Japan. I had saved $55,000 and I had socked that aside. I was very, very proud of myself. He was negotiating 1.3 million as a bonus, right? And I don't know why I decided this. I have no clue why this happened. But in that moment, I instantly went, oh, he's better than me. I'm worse. He's smarter than me. I'm stupid.
Yeah.
He's superior. I'm inferior. Dang, you're a loser.
Yeah.
You know, don't even tell him anything. You better not lose this one because you don't deserve this. So like, be on your best behavior. Like I made all these instantaneous decisions,
Yeah.
which led to a lovely wedding and house in New York. And he lived out in Connecticut and I went to Columbia. And here I was, we moved from Japan back to New York. And I had this picture perfect life.
Yeah.
But as I began to evolve more in my spirituality, and I remember like hiding in the closet to meditate so he wouldn't make fun of me. I remember doing my little sexy dance routine and being rejected and not knowing like where to like put an ostrich, put my head in the ground. Like we just started to grow apart in what our values were. And it ended. Yeah. It ended after therapy and workshops and all the rest of it. But I realized he never saw the real me because I never saw the real me. Yeah. He never valued the real me because I never valued the real me. And when I started to, that wasn't the agreement. Here's your box, stay in it. It's a good life. Just shut your trap, sign the prenup, and let's move on, right? And I remember too, the day when I finally said I would leave, I didn't have a green card yet to stay in the States. And I'm like, okay, I will go back to Japan and dance again. I will go back to Canada and work at the pharmacy, but I will not live this fakey fake thing anymore. And the fights and the conflict and the loneliness when you're right beside somebody, I am not doing this. So I ended it. The very next day, the green card arrived. And this is a really big lesson, people. It's just like Indiana Jones, jump off the cliff and then the net appears. It's real. You got to choose first. Yeah. You got to trust in yourself first. You have to have faith first and then the universe. I swear I see this little picture in my mind, like God and the goddess, and they're drinking scotch and having cigars and they're just loving on you, right? But they're above and you're below because you don't feel you're worthy yet. You don't think you can talk to them like homies, like as one, like they're up there and you're down here and poor old me. And they're like, oh, I wish she would just come to the party. I wish she would believe that she's deserving. Yeah. And so that act of having faith that they are listening, that the quantum field is actually scientifically looping back 1,000,000 times a second to my vibration. What science is telling me is actually real. So I imagine that they're like looking down at me and they're like, go Allana, go, believe in us, believe in you, right? And then one day I did it and then bing, they're like, oh, we have so much to give you. Would you like a green card here? Would you like a new job here? Do you want to live here? Like there's everything we've always wanted is in another dimension, vibration higher, but we have to do the work to arrive. And it's not narcissistic because I'm so great. It's a humble confidence. Like for the first time, imagining looking in God and the goddess's eyes, you really love me? I don't need to be ashamed of all my mistakes. You've inherently forgiven me. You value me. I am one with you. We can co-create. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Like it's a very beautiful, I have a meditation in one of my, it's called Heartmates. It's like a year program. I have this beautiful meditation of how I finally had the courage to look God and the goddess in the eyes and let go of all the shame and came home kind of sandwiched between Shiva and Shakti, yin and yang. And I was in the middle. I was home and I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm so humbled. Thank you for believing in me and waiting for me and giving me free will, not saving me because I was a victim. Like I had to earn this to believe in myself and love myself enough. Now let's create some good shit. Let's have a party. Like, let's do this. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that story, and thank you again for sharing. It's just beautiful the way you tell these stories and that relationship with faith, with the universe, with God, the goddess, the divine, whatever language people want to use, Mother Nature. It's just that faith is so life-changing. It's so life-changing. And I just want to, if I can just share a tiny bit of my story because it just paints this picture so clearly. I left school as well with what I call not good enough syndrome. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't sporty enough. I wasn't good at music. I wasn't thin enough. I wasn't pretty. The not good enough syndrome, because I know that lots of women understand that. And went from one bad relationship to the next and finally met my husband, my first husband. And each step of the way, it wasn't until I later looking back that I realized I was just grateful that somebody liked me. It had nothing to do with me looking at them and going, is this the perfect person for me?
Right,
It's like, oh
right.
my gosh, somebody likes me and validates my, reason for being on the planet. I'm
Totally.
good enough if somebody likes me. And we ended up getting married and having 4 children. And of course, it's no reflection on him. We were just never meant to be together. And so everything fell apart.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I worked out who I was, built that intimate relationship with myself, found out who I was as a woman, that I then brought the most magical man into my life. So if we can, let's dive in there. When we talk about having an intimate relationship with yourself, how do you talk about that or support women with that?
Yeah. So it's really, if this isn't how it is, of course, but like imagine in your heart, in the back little chambers, there's all the little yous, the little yous who you might not want anyone to see, the ones who are ashamed or afraid or insecure or doesn't know what she's doing or whatever, all the ones that we want to hide. They're in there and they will, not that they're like evil, but they'll sabotage your life because they're just trying to get attention. Can you just love me? Can you just stop abusing me, criticizing me, abandoning me, rejecting me, all these kind of behaviors? So they pipe up to just get our love. I didn't really understand that until for me, when so I alluded to this custody battle. So there was a time when my son was 1 where I went, oh my God, I did it again. Second husband. And this time I was doing more of the masculine girl, like, oh, the stupid Disneyland fairy tale marriage. That's not real. Like, I'm in charge. I got this, whatever, check the boxes off. And so my mother was dying at the time. And I, in all honesty, I didn't want to feel that. And, a man is a plan. A man and a baby is a plan. I'm just going to do that. I don't have to hurt. I'm just going to move on. So I didn't take time to really get to know him well, nor was my heart open. My heart was closed and terrified. So that vibration, we could say, is quite low. So I attracted somebody who was heart closed as well. And when I said after a year, oh, this isn't working, he rightfully so took it quite personally, and revenge set in for 12 years until I finally surrendered and took the high road and just said, yes, you can live with your father full time. I'm not going to exercise my legal and physical custody, and we can all have peace. And that's how it's been. So not a pretty 16 years of my life. And yet the gift, back to your question about this intimacy with self, when the worst of it happened, and it didn't go down quite as nice as I led it to believe, like when the son moved. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to go have a controlled nervous breakdown. That's what I'm going to do. So I need a cabin in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to work this many days. I'm going to have a nervous breakdown on the weekends. And, I had coaches and I had spiritual practices, and I was literally in the middle of nowhere, nature in every direction you could imagine. This A-frame, it was gorgeous. The sun rises, the sun sets. And during that downtime, I found all these little Alanas in my heart. It's so easy to love the parts of you that look good. It's so easy. We don't need to work on that part. It's the parts that we're ashamed of, afraid of, don't know how to manage this amount of rage, just this hopelessness, depression, like those parts. I wrote this whole list down of like, my son might never call me again. People might opt out of my Facebook when they find out what a fraud I am. How am I ever going to get through this? Like, will I ever feel like just the whole list? Just be real. And then at the end of the sentence, I put, and I love and accept myself. And I love and accept myself. Now, that doesn't mean I think I'm the bee's knees and I'm so like happy and no. I'm just going to stop hating on myself. I'm just going to be in allowance of now. That's it. I'm just going to love and accept myself. And as I rigorously found all these little Alanas and I loved and accept them I'm very visual. I'm very theatrical. I don't know. I just imagine you go into the heart and there's little you with her back turned to you, rightfully so, because you've been a bitch to her, telling her she shouldn't feel like that and get her act together. Because how are we going to get a guy? How are we going to get through this call with a client? Like, wrong, judge. And so I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. You're so right. Oh my God, here you are, sad in the first place. And now I'm being a bitch to you and rejecting you. And I let myself visualize that every time I was verbally abusive to her, it was a welt. I was like a 2x4 and I hit her. So I let myself see bleeding, gashed, arms falling off, eyeballs gouged, and I did that to her. And it just stopped me in my tracks. And I stopped abusing and criticizing and rejecting and abandoning myself. And I just said, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I really wasn't being evil on purpose, but I totally take responsibility that this is highly ineffective.
Yeah.
How can I make up for the damage done?
Yeah.
And the invitation from these aspects of myself seemed to be, whenever you come to try to fix me so we're finally good enough, it's a strategy, and you don't love me. You are conditionally giving me your attention if I change. You don't love me unconditionally. If you really love me unconditionally, you would come in the back chamber of the heart, throw away the key, and sit with me and listen to me and acknowledge me for eternity, even if I never left. That would mean unconditional love. So that's what I did. Probably 9 or 10 months. With every part of me, I allowed this part of me to be sad and sit with her and listen to her and not have one stitch of wanting to change her. And then slowly but surely, these amazing moments would occur of like coming home, of oneness, of head to toe body shivers, of confidence for no reason, home with the universe for no reason. And insights would happen of like, oh, that lesson was for me, not against me, or forgiveness, like for realsies, would happen as I brought more and more of these aspects home with no attachment whatsoever to anything ever changing. Like I'll still never, my son will still never speak to me. I lose my business and I'll work at like a coffee shop for the rest of my life. And I will love and accept myself. Like I'll have nothing and I will love and accept myself. And then the one day that was the biggest pinnacle, all of that, I guess enough little U's decided I was authentic and they came home and had a full-blown direct experience where I couldn't see where I ended and the universe began. And I just felt like, oh, I'm getting this. I am a limitless being. This is an experience. I have a body. I'm not my body. I have thoughts. I'm not my thoughts. I have emotions. I'm not my emotions. Oh my God, I really am a limitless being, and I am unstoppable, and I am bigger than any circumstance. I am that I am. Like I got it. And then from that place, I could see that I never actually made a choice in my life ever. It was always a strategy to be good enough and look good. Like I never really ever chosen just because it was my heart's desire. It always had, will you like me? Will I get money? Will I be safe? It always had an agenda. Yeah. And so then life began as choice. And that's really when things started to get good. That's when I got out of the $250,000 of legal debt that I was in. That's when I started to have a better relationship with my son. Yeah. That's when higher quality men came. That's when the business started to expand. Because I wasn't doing it for an agenda anymore. And I think people could smell it. Yeah. Like I was trying. There was a fakey fake thing. They were like, oh my God, there's something about your energy. I just feel so safe to be with you. And I would just say like, well, thank you. Because you're safe with me. I'm not going to judge you. I've done enough work to not judge myself. And I'm learning how to be tender over here, badass over here, funny over here, the odd F-bomb over here, whatever I need to do so that you feel safe, seen, and understood. And we can move through your shadows too. And that's called a job. Like how lucky am I? This is my life, right?
I know. Wow. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And, you know, I call that phase of, you know, people pleasing at any expense was my doormat phase. It was like, thank you for wiping your feet on me. At least I know I have a purpose on the planet. But it's, you know, the more we can have these conversations, the more we tell these stories, the more we can move past it, recognize it for what it is. Yeah. But you know, you said before, it's not about being narcissistic. This, I love me, I accept me, I'm awesome right now. That conversation is so uncomfortable when you're not used to it, when you haven't done it, when you haven't practiced it. So how do you support women to start practicing that unapologetically, showing up to be who they are in the world?
Yeah. Well, the other half. So here's another thing I've learned from science. I'm a big geek. I'm always interviewing quantum physicists. I want science to prove what I'm tapping into intuitively. Yeah. So I really understand what's going on. So half of me is unapologetic. Like, I hope you like me, but at the end of the day, if you don't, I'm not going to let it take me off center. Right. So I'm showing up here today in service to everybody that we're touching. And if everybody hates me, well, that was too bad. So sad, but like, I'm not going to be attached to that. So that's the unapologetic side. Simultaneously happening at the same time, I have a deep humility where I know that I'm nothing. Not like nothing, like a loser nothing, but like, let's really think about this.
Yeah.
I'm a little speck of dust on a planet with billions of people spinning through a universe that's a speck of dust compared to the like I am nothing. Like really, like at the end of the day, who really cares what I have to say? So there's a great humility about my privilege to make a difference. The privilege, I don't have to, I get to make a difference. So there's a real a humble side of me where I really get at the end of the day, I'm everything, nothing. I'm like a blip in time. And then on the other side, because I am nothing and I'm okay if nobody compliments me, I'm okay if I had to work at a coffee shop, not that there's anything bad about coffee shops, but you know what I'm saying? If I don't end up living what I think is my purpose, I love and accept myself. Like there's a nothingness to that where I don't need Facebook likes. I don't need the money. I choose it. I choose to make an impact, but if it doesn't happen, I'm okay. I'm still whole and complete, right? So there's a humility that allows for the unapologetic me to show up. Because if I have a strategy, because I'm still not good enough and I need you to like me in order to be good enough, then I'm not going to be unapologetic. I'm still very attached to the result. I'm going to make this very significant and important, and I'm going to try really, really hard. And like all of a sudden, Allana goes away. But if I know that I'm nothing and I don't really matter, and it doesn't really matter if you like me or don't like me, I'm just going to show up as me. And if everything goes to crap, completely worst case scenario, even if I end up living in a ditch and have to go in a shelter, I still am home with me. I love and accept me. Well, then what is there to lose? Let's just be love. Let's just be. And then this next phase occurs after that. So you've got like unapologetic and totally humble all at the same point. Then you have this level of presence because there's no attachment to the result. You're actually really present. So then you can look into each situation, a child, a lover, a client that you might want to close, an interview you might want to give, and in all these different situations, and you have no attachment to how it goes. You're willing to fail, fall flat on your face with all of them, and you're willing to be 100% of service, then you're like, oh, I need to speak a little more softly to the child. Now, I'm not manipulating and being who I'm not. I'm choosing to be who would be the highest good for the child. Oh, here's somebody, they use the word God, and that's what honors them. I can speak in God talk because that's what love would do. That's what honor would do. I'm not like, well, I'm not going to say God because I believe it's the universe and you're just going to have to deal with that. Like sometimes people think that's unapologetic. No, that's being an asshole. Right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about because I don't need to be right, look good, be in control, have it go a certain way. Who can I be? How can I shift my beautiful feminine energy of all these different flavors that I can be to be of service to that one? And when it's a client, how can I be unattached, whether they ever do the work for the next 10 lifetimes or whether they're ready to move forward today? And that unattachment makes people feel very safe to say yes and move forward. And you bring that over into the realm of maybe sexuality. I'm like, I really want to tell him to do it like this and slow down a bit and a little harder there and a little softer there, or look me in the eyes or whatever. And then there's that moment where I'm like, oh no, just go with the program and just what. And I'm like, no, what would this idea that I'm humble and he could reject me and walk out the door if I open my mouth, or I could be unapologetic and we might take us to another realm of bliss. Okay, I'm going to be this humble, confident request, and I'm going to feel into the energy of how to say it so that he doesn't feel emasculated, and I awaken his grandeur, and I tell him it would make me so juicy, and I would lose all my edges if he would just do a little slower and a little to the left, and then like that, and he's like, got it, and then he does it, and then the orgasm, whatever, like, right, like you can apply this same way of being everywhere, and it's a practice. You don't get there and then like, I got it. There's always a new edge, always a new moment, always a new wobbly. And you get to practice being this intimate relationship with yourself and the divine and another over and over and over and over. And for me, it just makes life so rich, so fulfilling, so humbling, and so magnificent. So much so that today I was crying my face off on my team meeting with my team. And I started off crying. I don't remember what I was like. Anyways, I'm always vulnerable with them. Something was very beautiful and moving, and I just didn't want to keep it together. I just wanted to let them know how grateful I am and how humbled I am that things are falling into place in a way that's beyond anything I've even asked for. And I was sharing. And then this one girl said, you know, my friend died 3 months ago when you hired me. Some girls have been with me for like 5 years. This one is like new, 3 months. My friend died 3 months ago. And I got to say, getting up in the morning has been really hard. And I got to say, you're pretty much the only call of the day, because she has another job, that I want to be on that makes me happy. And she started crying. And I'm like, oh my God, how lucky am I that being in my energy, because I do the work like every day, that she has joy being in my field. Are you kidding me? Like, yeah. So this is the life we can create with our families, with our team, for work, with our lover, with our friends. And yeah, I work my ass off, and I play pretty hard too. And I surrender and let go. But yeah, you got to be willing to do the work. You can't just 10 more affirmations and get there. I'm sorry. It's going to take, the deeper the roots, the higher the shoots. That's one of the things I say. So you got to be willing to dive in. But let me promise you beyond a shadow of a doubt that the roots will be that which you choose or better, and a lot that you never even dreamed possible. And it's not like a hope or a wish. It's an actual reality in a dimension of vibration that if you can do the work and get yourself there, that and more is there. It's science. Yeah. It's just science.
I'm melting. I could just listen to you talk all day.
Oh, you're so sweet. I wish you were a guy. I would marry you, but no, that's okay. I'm glad we're finding each other and we can be in this space together. Right? It's really what it's about.
You've talked about feminine and masculine energy, and I would love to dive into that just to give people, I mean, we have an idea that being feminine is being dressed up and girly, and that's part of it, and being masculine is, you know, we have these concepts, but I think the more we can really embrace that we've all got both, and what that looks like, and how we utilize that in our lives, and how it affects how we show up and the things that we can achieve in our lives, I just think is such a powerful understanding. So can we dive in there?
Totally. So a brief understanding and then maybe some stories, because it's so much fun to learn through stories. So for me, masculine energy is very directed, single focused, driven, and it can be misused if that energy is not sourced in the heart, in love. It can be very blind and mow everybody down. And we can do that as a woman or as a man with this energy, or we can first source it from the whisper of our soul, and it can be fueled by love. And that drive says, we don't do human trafficking on my watch. Sorry, that's done. We're over and out on that, right? Like it can come from a different place. Feminine energy, allowing, receiving. It's that pre-manifestation. It's in like the dark. It's like in the womb of this creative energy that arises. Now, again, that can be not through the heart, and we can be receiving and allowing of the doormat ages, right? Like you were speaking of, we can be mistreated and think that we just need to give up, give over, give in, this kind of like receiving, as opposed to when the heart is present with this allowing, receiving energy. We receive something we don't even care for. It's not what we prefer, but we receive it with no resistance, because what you resist persists. It'll stick you, right? So we receive it, we take a breath, we keep our heart open, and we guide something into a more noble and for the highest good of all way of being. So it's not like you're totally present when you're in allowance. You're totally present when you're in this receptive energy, because you're gauging with your heart, is this for my highest good, the highest good of all, or not, right? So it's an active surrender, I guess we could say. So these are like in general feminine and masculine energies. So just yesterday I got asked so a lot of people in Hollywood aren't working because you can't be on set together, right? So there's apparently a bunch of actors and actresses, and they've created a project, and it's just going to be, you know, on YouTube, because no studios are open right now. And they asked me to be a part of it as the intimacy expert in this series of this woman dating. And so as she's telling me the story of her real life that it's going to be based on, she's saying things like, Well, I had my 5-year plan and I did my inner work in my 20s. And then I found my guy, and then we were going to have a baby by this. I'll have my second baby by that. And I was going to find somebody that completely And so this is an example of masculine energy. She's not feeling anything. It's all cognitive analysis to try to keep her safe.
Yeah.
Right. And she's totally in her mask. So she's telling me this story. And then she's telling me about her ex, who she's now like a single mom and like doing the whole thing. And what was her statement? Like, men are broken. I'm just like, holy shit. And I'm just listening. And I'm sort of at an audition to see if I'm going to be the expert they cast in this show. And so I want to give a good impression, and I stopped her. She said what she had to say. And I said, can I just be straight with you? This will probably help us decide if I'm a good fit for you.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever told you you're really masculine? Yeah. And she's like, yep. And then I go, has any chance, if you have the belief that men are broken, that you might attract some real duds?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, you're totally right. And then she started to slow down because the pace of what she was saying was also very driven and very clear. And, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. And then she started to slow down and feel. Yeah. And I said, if this is a fit for the project, you require I said, you're not over your ex. And I don't know what happened to you in your past, but something. And she goes, yeah, there's been some, inappropriate sexual behavior that went down. I'm like, I'm sure, because you're 10 million steps ahead. Yeah. Choosing somebody that you can control to be safe. She goes, you nailed it. I go, yeah, it's okay. This is my job. I have my own version, but I would love for this show not to just be a fun little thing about dating and quarantine, but could we actually heal humanity through healing you? Because the essence of what's in you is in every woman and man. And we're all triggered by it because everything's so quote unquote uncertain, like it wasn't before, people, come on, right? But now it's like more real than ever that we're actually not in control. Yeah. I would love to be the counselor, and I'm a counselor, not a therapist, for a reason, for what I said before. I don't believe just talking about it heals anything in a lasting way. Yeah. Image, thought, emotion, body sensation, we need to combine them all for lasting change. So I would love to do that and edit down what you think is appropriate. Because I swear a lot and like I'm very unconventional in what I do. I said, but I'd love to help you. So that's an example of a woman operating from fear that leaves her heart into her mind to strategize a safe plan, which always backfires every single time. So it would be an example of masculine energy not in our highest good. I believe masculine energy as a woman in our highest good is choice. Yeah. Like I'm choosing to develop a dating app right now. I'm choosing to do it because I don't believe dating apps out there treat people with heart and soul. I think they gamify and like swipe left and it makes us into commodities. Yeah. And I don't think there's any built-in mechanism that teaches people how to sit in the fire, lean in, keep their heart open through conflict so people can actually realize, whoa, every relationship has conflict. Conflict isn't bad. It's how you react or respond that makes the difference between pushing each other away, emasculating and blaming, or getting closer, learning more, and becoming even more brave and vulnerable, and the relationship gets stronger. So I'm creating a dating app that the dating app is complimentary, but you have to be a part of Heartmates, the intimacy curriculum, because we're all here to become the one, to find the one. So I believe my masculine energy in the past, when I just had to get out of $250,000 of legal debt, and I just had to get my ass out of bed when I just wanted to like hide, was more of the pushing. I pushed past damsel in distress into warrior to get through a certain period of time. And then I was like, okay, I'm exhausted. Now I choose heart-based masculine drive to create something that I don't know how to do. I spent my down payment on my home to fund the first round of this. I'm going to learn how to do investors. I'm going to learn how to get feedback from others. I'm going to build something from the ground up for the highest good of all when humanity needs it. I hope you can hear the heart in those actions as opposed to the fear-based, I just got to get through the day and be safe. Yeah. So those are some different stories of what our energies can be like. And we all have them. Yeah. Masculine and feminine. And I think the key becomes, am I inspired by the love that comes from my heart? Or am I motivated from the fear spinning in my brain to try to be safe and look good and do it right? And kill them before they kill me. Right? So
Agree.
that's our choice point. And that's why intimacy with self is always the first step.
Yep.
The most fundamental step in self-realization is, can I be home in my heart, even if I'm terrified, and keep my heart open and keep moving forward? It's not like fear goes away. It's not like I don't have fear anymore. Oh my God. I'm afraid every day. I make mistakes every day.
Yeah.
And I hope to be graceful and clean them up and make up for the damage done. Yeah.
And most of the really good stuff comes on the other side of the fear as well.
Yeah.
You can get through that. Yeah.
No, you're so right. You're so right.
Yeah. This concept really landed in my brain when somebody explained to me that even though I was a mum, many years a single mum with 4 kids, I was in masculine energy. I thought it was completely feminine, but I was in doing mode all the time.
Yes,
my home was like a military operation.
Understood. Understood.
And I wondered why I had no sex drive, or, because that feminine energy, I just didn't have time for her at all.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. Being a mom is very masculine. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. The doing, not the being.
The checklists.
Yeah. Well, for me as a mom, if I stopped doing and started being, there was so much unresolved fear and pain inside of me that I didn't know how to resolve. I hadn't figured that part out yet on my 20-year journey of taking more courses and all the rest of it, that I just pushed it down and went back to my head. Yeah. It was safer.
Yeah.
But it pushes people away. It doesn't make our children feel safe when we're like that.
Yeah. And I think society really pushes this. I know that a lot of the women that I work with, there's a lot of guilt around slowing down or stopping, or, that the term surrender is just a massive trigger. But, I think society sets us up. I remember in that movie Eat, Pray, Love, which I know many people have watched. I don't know if you've seen it, but they talk about dolce far niente, the sweet art of doing nothing. In Italy, it's just part of the culture. But here in Australia and America, it's like you've got to earn the right to relax or to just be.
Yeah. Or like, I'm more tired than you. No, I'm more tired than you. Like, oh, come boy, please stop it. Yeah.
I work 23 hours a day.
I work 23 and a half. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so that becomes the inner work that when society is mirroring to you that you're wrong, for you to process that so you can lead by your heart and what's good for your soul and for your family and for your love life. And lead by example. And if enough of us are willing to be that brave and process the shame or the judgment and not guilt is self-punishment, and not punish ourselves and be, I don't know what they call them, tall poppies, right? In Australia, and be willing to shine and invite others. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It takes bravery.
Yeah. We've talked a little bit about COVID, and it's kind of the elephant in the room. But I know I'm thinking of one client in particular who she's had a struggle in her relationship with her husband, and she was really just waiting for him to fix it. Just like, why didn't he understand that she was so miserable and struggling? And I feel like this is a big conversation for so many women, particularly at the moment when we're spending more time with our partners possibly than we have for years in some instances, or with our kids or whatever. And there is this tension building. I know it's a massive subject, but I would love it if you could just give some words of wisdom. Where do we start when we've got our backs turned to each other and it's just like the next day feels more uncomfortable than the last?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have a partnership right now, but I have a lot of business partnerships. And one male business partner was just cranky and aloof and arrogant and like standoffish and not very warm. And I was blaming him for not being receptive enough to talk about it. Kind of similar to a wife with a husband. Like, well, why do I have to be the one that goes first? Well, why do I have to be the one to take the high road? Right. So we're all right.
Yeah.
And it's not fair. And somebody's going to have to go first.
Yeah.
And so if you could let go of your worth being determined by being right, or your worth being determined by it having to be fair, and it just is what it is. And if we truly believe that the planet is off balance, patriarchy versus, feminine energy, Well, that would mean we have to kind of go first to right things. Okay, we have to go first. Is it fair? No. Have a little temper tantrum, drink a couple shots of tequila and stamp around. Get it out of your system, okay? Your frustration is valid.
Yeah.
And then get over it. And soften.
Yeah.
And open.
Yeah.
And invite. Now, two things are going to happen when you do that. You will awaken the best of him. He will feel safe. Because let me tell you, I work with men and women and couples. Men are terrified of our emotional storms. I'm talking terrified. Yeah. We are so powerful, ladies.
Yeah.
I've had male coaches, male spiritual coaches tell me I am 10,000 times more powerful than he is. And I was like, wait a second, you're my coach. He goes, yeah, but I'm a guy. You're a woman. You can create a baby. You can create a universe. You're 10 million times more powerful than me. You scare the shit out of me. I'm like, really? Oh, I didn't get that. Okay. So we're scary. We're super scary. Their hearts, yeah, they got to be tough guys and everything. They're scared of being emasculated. And if they just open their heart a little bit and we sling it and we emasculate them, their soul is just like, it's very, very painful for them. I know this from talking to the men. So when we can come from softness, they're like, oh my God, I'm not going to get killed. When we can come from openness, they're like, oh, okay, maybe I'm safe. And we can come from invitation that literally gets up under them and awakens their grandeur. Yeah. They want nothing more than to be our hero. They want nothing more than provide and protect, but they're not going to do it if they're going to get emasculated. That's just how they're wired. It's just how they're wired. And so, it's not fair. And we have to do more work, but get over it. You're 10 million times more powerful energetically. That's how you are. That's just facts. Yeah. MIT studies even, like when they studied how a woman searches for a man on the internet and how a man searches for a woman on the internet. We have 17 categories according to these MIT professors that did these internet searches. Men have one. They're just simpler. That's it. They're not beneath us. We're not better. It's not that. It's just different. And we are very complex creatures, and our energy and our emotions, careful to use that wind in their wings and be up under them, not to use it to emasculate, because just a glance can kill them. Just a glance. Yeah. So have your temper tantrum, get it out of your system. It's not fair. Get over it. You're a powerful creature. You're a goddess. Get over it. Okay. Then you get up under them and then you invite them. And you're real. And I love using little sandwiches. And at the beginning of the sandwich, the piece of bread at the sandwich is like gluten-free bread, whatever. Okay. So is authentic appreciation. Yeah. Find something real that you can appreciate them for. I just want to let you know, I probably haven't said it a lot lately, but when and maybe they took out the trash once in the last 7 times you asked, but it was once. I really want to say thank you for when you took the trash out. You were my hero. I just felt so supported. I just want to say thanks. Okay, so that's authentic. Yeah. Middle of the sandwich. May I speak from my heart? Honor this warrior by asking permission before you launch in. May I speak from my heart? Let him say yes, because he might not be ready right now. Yeah. He's like, tonight, later when I'm done with mowing the lawn. You're like, got it. I'll see you at 7:00. No problem. Yeah. Ask permission and mean it. Yeah. Get the yes. And then you speak from I, never you. I. And then when we slow down, what's underneath the rage and the anger, we've already had our temper tantrum, is probably you're lonely. Yeah. You're afraid. You're scared. It's probably something like that. Yeah. I feel scared because I don't feel we're on the same page like we used to be. And I'm afraid you're having an affair. I'm afraid you're going to leave me. I'm afraid. I'm just afraid. End of the sandwich. Tell me what your thoughts are. How do you feel about what's going on in our relationship? I would love to hear. That's a really effective, authentic, high road to take to make it safe to be with you. Yeah. I have these in my books and in my programs. I have a lot of support with this structure called a dyad. It's a way that it's a formal way of communicating where the other person only gets to say thank you back and forth when you ask each other questions and you share. Notice how many times when you have fights, it's because you didn't say thank you. You weren't actually seeking to understand. You were seeking to be right, dominate, and kill before you were killed. Just own it. Okay, it doesn't work, does it? No. So these structures where you have these 40-minute conversations, simple but profound. Tell me something you like about me.
Yeah.
Like, when's the last time you actually said that to each other? Whether you agree or disagree, say thank you. It doesn't mean I agree. It just means I heard you.
Yeah.
I understand. 5 minutes later, tell me something you think we align on, especially if you're butting heads. Let's remember where we are on the same team. 5 minutes of that. Say thank you. That's all you get to say. The last one, tell me something you'd like me to understand that you think I may not understand.
Yeah.
OMG. I've had couples married for 20 years that are in tears. I never knew. Well, you never fucking asked. Excuse me. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear in this. Sorry, I swear all the time.
Absolutely.
Okay, fine. Okay, super good. So you never were seeking to understand the other for 20 years, just to be right.
Yeah.
What if you just was like, oh my God, I had no idea when I did this. They felt like they were my man slave, boy slave.
Yeah.
All they needed me to say was praise them or give them a hug or maybe words of appreciation as their love language. And I never listened. I never asked. Oh my God, I can totally do that. I can completely hug you for longer than 2 seconds. You want 10-second hugs every morning and night? Done. I'm in there. You just want me to praise you a little more? I can totally do that. And now he's going to listen to what I said. And all he gets to say is thank you as well. And we both discover, and he now knows to text. Now, when you say it like all pissy bitchy, no, he doesn't text to tell you he's going to be late. Who would? You're being a meanie. But now that he's heard it from this very beautiful way of how it makes you feel scared, he just thought it made you pissed.
Yeah.
No, it makes you scared. Oh, thank you. And all he gets to say is thank you. But he understands the mechanism going on behind the facade of the tornado, that there's a little girl in there who just wants you to text and say if you're going to be 10 minutes late. And he starts to text.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 10 minutes late. And your new behavior is praise and appreciation. And like a little bit of like sprinkles of like, you're my hero. And that really turns me on. And then all of a sudden the spark is back. And all of a sudden he's bringing home flowers. And all of a sudden you're spending a little time to set the nice table out on the back deck. Like, and it just snowballs in a positive direction. This is what happens with couples that I work with even when I work with one, just the husband or just the wife. You'd think it wouldn't work. I didn't think it was going to work. I got to be honest. But even just one person changing can change an entire marriage. Yeah. And certainly if you're single, to attract a whole new situation, it's very profound. And again, as I said before, quite a privilege to hold that space until they get the hang of it. Because if you've got a habit of, a decade or more of being mean to each other, it doesn't change overnight. It doesn't change by just listening to an interview like this. Hopefully it's a great inspiration, but we actually need structure, accountability, healing, because maybe they've been a real shithead. And there's some stuff that you really need to not resolve with him. You need to resolve that on your own so you can truly be the space of forgiveness. Yeah. There's work to do here again, but it works. That's what I'm here to say. It works. Yeah. It's beautiful to see.
My clients, I have a running joke that sometimes it sounds like I talk in bumper stickers because I've got these little snapshots and they can hear it in their voice. But one of them is let go of the need to be right. Let go of the need to be right. It is life-changing because, whenever we're in that argumentative, just butting head space, it's just that you stop hearing even what the other person's saying. It's just that desperate need to prove that you're right. And it's a conditioning. We're conditioned to do it. So just having that little bumper sticker.
And that all the way back to the beginning of the conversation with this ability to have an intimate relationship with yourself and allowing all worst scenarios to happen. And I still love and accept myself. That back to the beginning of that little story with a colleague of mine who aloof and mean. And what do you mean? Why haven't I been more sensitive talking to you? You're a big gruff meanie. And all at the end of this conversation, because I just shut the fuck up and I just listened to what he said and he got moved and he goes, I just need you to be more sensitive with me. And I was like, OMG. Okay. I don't need to be right. I don't need to say, well, you blah, blah, blah. I just need to go, got it. And I just apologized and I meant it because I was meeting his gruffness with gruffness. I thought it was the only way to get through to him. But that's why he's being gruff, is that underneath it all, he needs to be honored and he's scared and he needs sensitivity. I can do that. It doesn't have to be fair. But when I take the high road and be sensitive and honoring, it brings out the best in him and he feels safe. And then he has my back. Right? So, I want to honor your time. We've probably gone a little bit over. Have you got just another 5 minutes? I sure do. You're so delightful. Thank you. Yes.
I would love to know, in all the things that you've done, what's the first thing that drops in if I ask you, what is the most audacious, bold, daring thing that you've done?
Oh my.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know. Let me think. Probably ask for help. Maybe that's not the answer you might thought. Like, I'm
Yes.
super bold and unapologetic and I
Yeah.
go for it all the time. So a
Yeah.
lot of like flashy things, I don't know if it would be considered flashy, but whatever. Like, I'm willing to take risks. I'm willing to fall flat on my face, that kind of stuff. But I think the most bold, audacious thing has, actually, I'll tell you exactly what it is. So this Sunday, because my name of my company is called Celebrate the Process.
Yeah.
Why? Because I friggin' need to remember and stop working so hard and remember to smell the roses. So I'm having a party with all my team and my lawyers and my Allana Pratt method coaches. And I sent them all sacred cacao, and we're going to have a little chocolate drinking ceremony. Like, we're going to have all this fun. And I wanted to invite one of my coaches who's so busy. Like, the dude calls me like from the Vatican and stuff like that. Like, he's like really high up there person who digs, like, he's really important human. And then my developer, he, like, Google hires him. Like, he's that level. They're both so like, and they're helping me with my app. So I just feel like very humbled to just be in their presence, and I pay them a lot of money. And so my bold, audacious move was like, I just wrote this long email. I couldn't have done this without you. You guys mean the world to me. I love you. Like, you're like, why are you working with me? I still have no idea. And I'm just so grateful. Do you want to come to my party? Do you want to come to my party on Sunday? And so then I didn't hear anything for days. Like, a week went by and I'm like, oh, never mind. And then I get the email from the one guy who's in India.
Yeah.
Wouldn't miss it. And I'm like, oh my God, you wouldn't miss it? Yeah. And he goes, I will have to get up in the middle of the night, but it is totally fine. I would never miss it. I'm like, oh my God. And so then I said to the other guy, he wouldn't miss it. I got a little sassy. And I'm like, is your ass going to be there? And he's like, yes. And I go, I'm going to send you chocolate. What is your, so, and there's like, oh, don't worry. And I'm like, no. So I found a distributor in India to send the cacao to the one guy. And I'm like, found someone like in New York to send to the other one. And so I'm so like, oh my God, it's not just who I'm in charge of and who I pay. And I'm like, no. These are my like elders.
Yeah.
And they're going to be here, and we're all going to be together, and we're going to play, and we're going to connect. And for me to ask for them, it's like I'm asking them to love me, or I don't know. It's like a weird, uncomfortable space. I'm very capable of asking for help if I pay for it.
Yeah.
But just to come and love me because I'm fun, good enough, like it would be a contribution to your life, and be rejected makes me very scared. So they said yes.
Good. I'm glad. Right? You know, like I'm taken back to the, like the primary school first birthday invitation.
Right? Johnny didn't come to your party or whatever it was, right? I was scared.
Yeah, asking for help is massive. It's massive. And I got myself a single mum. I had 4 children under 8, and we all had tonsillitis, and I got myself in a state where I couldn't swallow my own spit. I was so dehydrated. I was looking after these kids, and I don't know, it was 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I packed everybody up and went to the hospital because I was in so much trouble. Yeah. The doctor wouldn't let me leave until I rang somebody for help. And the woman that I rang is still one of my dearest friends on the planet. But I'll never, I had to choke on it. Asking for help just felt like I was signing a big, a big neon sign, failure, can't cope. It's huge, learning to ask for help. But I think it was Brene Brown who, and I won't be able to quote her perfectly, but she, in order to be able to, for somebody to ask you for help, you need to be able to receive the help. Did I say that right? Yeah, that different. But we've got it. We love to help, but receiving it is so much harder. But we've got to be able to do it both ways.
Yeah, it's so true.
I know that you have a beautiful gift for our audience. Allana, would you take a minute to let them know what that is?
Yes, I have a whole bag full of if they'd like them, but the one I'd like that I think will make the biggest difference for the conversation we're having today is around intimacy. Yeah. I'm sure everybody watching is super clever, super smart, super driven, on the personal growth path, if you could have figured out what's in the way of the next level of love, self-love, money, whatever, you would have figured it out, handled it, and moved forward. I'm clear about it. It's a blind spot. It's a blind spot. And I have them too. That's why I have 3 coaches, because I can't see my blind spots to save my life. I have created an intimacy blind spot assessment. And so it's right there on my site, and you will give them the link. And basically it takes you through, and you can ask it if you want. It sort of is broken up into 3 categories: intimacy with self, intimacy with life or the divine, and intimacy with the beloved. And it shows you where the blind spot is actually running the show, because I believe we can't see them ourselves. And so I can help you see yours. And when you see it, so I'll be honest, sometimes the truth pisses you off before it sets you free. That's okay. Breathe. Remember, we're going to take the high road here. And you're going to go, okay, that's the next level of work for me to do. And then, of course, I have like YouTube channel. I have intimate conversations, my podcast. I have 6 books. I have guided meditations. I have my Heartmates, year-long curriculum for singles, for couples. I have group coaching. I have private coaching. I have VIP. I've got everything for everybody all the way, whatever you need, I gotcha. Yeah. But once you know what it is, then you can choose a path to resolve that with ease and grace by somebody who's walked no better, but I've walked maybe 1 or 2 steps ahead of you. That's it. Yeah. So you don't have to fall down as many times as I did. And I can help you get there and close the gap quicker. And I have wonderful coaches, or working with me. Like the world needs our best self right now. And there's a woman of wisdom, I believe, humility and bravery, asks for support to run her queendom. We can't do it alone, as you know, as I know. So yeah, I would be privileged to connect with anybody. So start with the quiz. Yeah.
Working out what those blind spot was going to be one of my questions for you. And now you've just put it in the bag. So we're good to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. This has been the most magical conversation. Thank you, Allana.
Oh, thank you so much. It's been a total privilege and honor. Absolutely.
Thank you. And breathe. Sometimes when I'm in these interviews, I talk about leaning in. I was leaning in so hard to everything that Allana was saying that I had to keep catching myself to come back and realize that, I'm actually needing to contribute to this conversation and be part of it. Magic, pure magic. I'm actually going to go back and watch that and watch it again, because I feel like there's so much to pull out of that interview that is potentially life-changing, magical. So what do you get to take action on? What did you hear? What landed right in your brain or on your heart that was just like, oh yeah, she has that ability to articulate thoughts that just kind of swim around in your head, but then the ability to articulate it and shine that loving spotlight right on something that, if you took it on board, made a little tweak, a little change, could be potentially life-changing. So letting go of the need to be right, if I can pull out one thing that is potentially life-changing for our relationships. I can think of this, when I needed to remind myself of this with my teenagers, particularly relationships everywhere, in business, letting go of the need to be right. All right, I hope it serves you. So much love. That's it from me today. Much love. Bye for now.